What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XRP today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Actually, I would like to start off this video comparing XRP to Bitcoin, just so that we know where we are relative to Bitcoin here. Okay, we'll use the Binance chart. Let's do that. So on a weekly time frame, yeah, you're looking pretty damn good, right? You're at this shelf consolidating. You're absolutely going to break out to the upside in time. Maybe not. I mean, maybe right now, maybe in a week. Maybe in 2 weeks, but soon enough. I think that you're going to continue higher, which is great because if XRP is gaining versus Bitcoin, the likely situation would be that Bitcoin's growing, XRP is just growing faster because you don't oftentimes really ever see any altcoin gain while Bitcoin's plummeting. That would imply that the altcoin is holding up better than Bitcoin as it drops. And Daddy Bitcoin kind of leads the way most of the time, almost always. Weekly time frame looks really good. I love seeing these lower lows in the weekly RSI, just relatively speaking, alongside with these higher lows here in the XRP BTC price. That's hidden bullish divergence and just gets you set up to rip. Because what happens is you got overbought. You're extended. You're kind of hot in the RSI, and you want to be hot. You want to be, the hotter you are, the better your move is. Right? I'll prove it to you. Look at how phenomenal that move was. It only happened because you got to these readings, and of course, this big move here that started it all, you got overbought. As soon as you're overbought, you carried out. Most of the move happened while you're in the overbought zone. It's a good thing to be overbought. But you can't do that. I mean, there's nothing that says you can't do that forever, but oftentimes you don't do that forever. In fact, I can't think of any time, like inevitably you will probably come out of the overbought zone, right? It's not a requirement, but I suppose it's possible, but nothing moves up in a straight line forever. So it's going to happen that you come out of it. Whenever you come out of the overbought zone, whenever you cool off like this, a pretty sizable bit, you're below the 60, man. And that's not crazy, right? You didn't get to the oversold zone or anything, but when you cool off like this, that gives you a lot of room to run. I mean, just remember right here, you were overbought right on this week. And look at what you did with 3 more weeks after that, and even the weeks to follow, and you were already overbought. You're at this same area. You're at a higher reading now than you were back here, and you're at a lower reading in the RSI. You have so much room to run when it is time to run. You're going to do phenomenal. You're going to have a phenomenal breakout versus Bitcoin when it happens. But let's focus on the short-term stuff. We'll use this later in the video when we talk about the long-term stuff, okay? Just as fuel to the fire there. The daily RSI looks a little bit sad. Looks a little bit weak. It's a bit contradictive even, I would say. Because you've got lower highs, lower lows, but you also have higher lows and some higher highs right here. You're in like a downtrend overall, but in an uptrend in the downtrend. Kind of interesting. I don't know whether to be bearish or bullish on this, right? Is the prevailing trend going to prevail, or are you starting something new here? Because this actually looks kind of good as long as it continues. But if you do start moving down versus Bitcoin today, that'll reject off the 50, and that'll just validate this overall prevailing downtrend. I'm going to go with the more significant trend until we have reasons to believe that you're breaking out of it. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame. Let's keep winding it down here. Okay, here we might find some evidence. So you are rejecting the 60. You're getting oversold, rejecting the 60. That's not normally a good combination. That normally would lead to going lower, at least a little bit lower, right? And on a 4-hour time frame, that doesn't mean that you're going to go lower over the next day or the next, well, maybe the next day, but not over the next week or so. It's maybe just the next day or so, couple of days. So what this could mean then, or what this could imply, is that you do move down versus Bitcoin today, tomorrow, the next day, something like that, over the next day to 3 days, day to 5 days, something like that. And if you were to drop, maybe drop down to the golden ratio, which is at about 3.69%. Maybe drop down to about the 886, which would be about 6.5%. Okay, something like that makes sense. I'm under the impression that you can find a higher low here. I don't think that you go lower. I think that you can find a higher low because I like your daily RSI. I like your weekly RSI, right? I don't think that you're going to go too much lower. But even if you did go lower, I mean, how low would you go? You'd drop maybe at the most, 10% versus Bitcoin? That's actually a lot. And then 13% versus Bitcoin. It could happen. I'm not anticipating it to happen, but it could happen. Let's start small. So if you drop 3.75% versus Bitcoin, what does that mean? Well, I'm expecting that Bitcoin from its current price drops down about to this area. I say 73 to 72K, so let's just put it right in the middle there. That's about a 13% drop. If XRP BTC drops 3.75% more than Bitcoin, then instead of 13.37, it's going to drop about 17%. So what would a 17% drop for XRP do? 17% would take you just below this low. So that's at a shallow level. You could take out this low. And I don't know about you guys, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but I would think that, I mean, enough people were crapping themselves at this low. Even if you only went a little bit below, I'm sure that would cause a lot of capitulation. People would crap themselves there too. And that might be all you get. Maybe you do drop right there. and then you rip right back up. I could see it happening. I definitely could. It's a possibility. But I would almost anticipate you go lower, right? That's if XRP drops to the golden ratio. Let's say you drop down to the 786, 886 area. Let's put you right in the middle there, right where this area of support is back here. Basically right there. I'm going to take it right there. That's an overall, let's say 6% drop. 5.8% drop versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 13.3. That's going to be a 19% drop overall for XRP, which would take you down a little bit lower, wouldn't it? 19% overall, and probably even a little bit more than that. That would take you down around this low here. Okay. Now, what if XRP breaks through this? What if it does see a lower low? What if we do see something on the lines of a 10% drop or more versus Bitcoin? Well, that would add, if this was, let's see, hold on. If that was 5%, we're adding another 5% essentially to that, or 4%. That would take us to something that's just below this low. So we've done a lot of talking. I've done a lot of talking and just comparisons to the XRP BTC price with Bitcoin and XRP as well. And the areas that we're thinking that we're going to go to at a minimum would take you below $1.89. At a minimum, you would probably go to about $1.80. At a maximum, maybe $1.68. And even then, you could still drop a little bit lower. Who's to say that you can't drop to about $1.63? What if you go a little bit lower than expected? I wouldn't be surprised in the least if you went a little bit below this low. That's not necessarily the call. I'm just putting that out there as like a word of caution. I can only imagine how many people are going to crap their pants whenever we go below this line, whenever we go below this most relative low. But you guys, if we were to go below this low, for whatever reason, people are going to start to think XRP is broken. And I know not the XRP army, not the people that have been here for multiple seasons or even at least a year, not the long-term holders, the investors, no, but just the tourists, right? There's going to be a lot of people who crap themselves at this low, more so at this low. That could be what you need for true capitulation. As a long-term investor in XRP, you want to get rid of the weak hands. You want those paper hands to fold and flop away in the wind, right? You want that to happen so that the strong hands can get in, the diamond hands can get in. They buy at these key areas and hold that price zone as support. Fundamentally, like that's what you want to happen. Now, I'm not saying that just because that happened, or just because you want to see that doesn't mean that you have to go below there. Who cares what you want to see? The charts do whatever they want to do. But right now, I'm just making a case for XRP to potentially drop, again, below $1.70. Maybe it goes down to about $1.60. You could go lower than that, but then we're starting, then you're dropping, you're dropping over 30%. I don't see XRP doing that, but let's be real too, and I want to address that. What if you do drop lower? What if you don't find support at this wick? What if you find support at the daily closing high, XRP? What if the market drops more than I'm expecting and XRP drops more than I'm expecting? That's a 34% drop overall. What if it's fine? What if it's fine? What if it's totally fine? If you drop down there, you're still on top of the world from this very bullish move that you've had, this very bullish endeavor. Even if you drop down here, it's a higher low. It's a lower low relative to this, but you're in a prime position still to move up. Let's not forget what we started this video with, right? XRP versus BTC on a daily time frame, weekly time frame looks bullish as hell. Bullish as hell, you guys. You are in time, and this is where we're going to finish on a good note, okay? You are in time going to see prices versus Bitcoin. This is the XRP BTC chart. Let's get it straight, right? Above this area. If we take, let's not even take a fib. Let's just use our seeing eyeballs. If you look here on a closing basis on the monthly, you've been finding resistance here since 2019. Okay, you've been finding resistance here. You're looking like you want to break above it. I don't know about you guys, but I can't see a single other example other than like this first little bit where you're still working your way down, where you spent 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months in this area. It was a tip. It was a tip. It was 1 month, 2 months, and then on the third month you moved down, right? But here we are, 4 months up at this area, or about at least 3 months or so, 3.5 months. And we have higher readings in the RSI on a monthly time frame. I think we'll go higher. Where would we go? Maybe at least to here, right? I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't seem like the most significant area. I don't think that's where it stops. Inevitably, I would assume that we go all the way up to here. Okay, looking at this on a weekly basis, applying some fibs now. I actually want to put it back on a monthly so that I get the all-time history. I want to use this high to this low on the fibs, and now we'll look at it on a weekly basis. There we go. I'm going to delete this white line too, so it's less noise. The next target area that we would have, delete this white line too, or oh, maybe I can make that one. We'll make this one stand out. It'll be a different color. Let's just make it yellow. No, it kind of blends in with the 382. Pink, purple. white, black, gray. No, I don't know, man. We'll make it this color. Okay, there we go. That one kind of stands out. This is not a fib. This is that monthly low close right there that we could go to. It's not lining up with any fibs. I would expect that when you break out of this versus Bitcoin, you probably do roll right into your golden ratio zone, right? Something like this. Okay, something of a similar kind of magnitude to this, but you probably don't move up as big. Growing versus Bitcoin, you're probably not likely to grow as big as you did down here, right? You're at a higher market cap now. Bitcoin's at a higher market cap. Bitcoin will be moving up too. Whenever this next phase happens, so it'll probably be harder to grow versus Bitcoin, but something between here and maybe even 0.0009 should be expected. Okay, if you're moving up here, what's that going to be versus Bitcoin? That's going to be, and let's do it all. Let's take this one into consideration. 77% right there versus Bitcoin. This one here is 112% versus Bitcoin, and the top side of that would be, come on, if I want the exact price. That'd be something of about, and I want to get it over here so that we're not interfering with the prices, 176%. And maybe even higher. Screw it, let's do one more. We'll do one more. Let's go all the way up to the top there at this white line here at about 236%. Okay, so anything from 77, 112, 176, 236%. If Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin does move up, I'm expecting that our first stop is probably going to be from this current price all the way up to about 130K, high to low here. And that's probably not the low, so it's not going to give us a completely accurate read, but we're just going to use it nonetheless. Because even if we go to the lower areas that I'm expecting, which will be here, I mean, I don't know. We can try this, I guess. Try it like that, but this is not appropriate. I would expect Bitcoin stops around 130K, something like that. So if Bitcoin moves up 58%, 59%, something like that, and XRP at a minimum grows 77% versus Bitcoin, right? That's what this low one is. I know that there's a bunch of stuff going on, but just pay attention. 77% versus 58%. So Bitcoin moves up 58%, XRP moves up 77% extra on top of that. That means that XRP would move up about 130% in overall growth. Now, do we have targets for that on the USD pair? 130% overall. I'm going to take last cycle's high to the bear cycle low. Okay, 130% from here would put you just above your 1414, which is a very likely stopping point. When I say stopping point, I don't think this next move stops there, but you might find resistance there. You might find resistance there. It makes sense because oftentimes you do go just above the 1414, and you might find resistance here because that's where you had a monthly closing basis on the Bitcoin price. So we can make sense out of this price for momentary resistance, right? What do I mean by momentary? I certainly don't mean 4 months. I mean like maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month at the most, but it'll be a overall stopping point on your way up to these prices that are higher than that, right? So I don't really think that you'll stop there. And again, this doesn't line up with any fibs, but I was just entertaining it to see what would happen. 112%. And with Bitcoin stopping around 137K, you might find some resistance at about, what is that? At about $5. About $5. I wouldn't be surprised if you found some resistance at $5. That might be a very good tradable point. Whenever it comes to the end of this move, by the end of May, or not yet, by the end of May, by the end of April, somewhere in that time, but it's probably going to be by the end of May, I think Bitcoin will move up overall to something around about like 170K or more. I'm thinking 173K. And the reason for that is if we take last cycle's high to the bear market low, bull cycle high to bear market low here, your golden ratio, your 1618 is all the way up at 173.9K, 174K. So if we moved up there, Bitcoin would move up 107%. If XRP sees, again, its minimum target, 107% plus 77, that's going to be like 184%, right? Maybe even more than that, 184%. Would this be the minimum target by the end of May? Then maybe. The golden ratio here might be your minimum target. I don't accept it. I accept it as a minimum target, but I don't expect it as a minimum target, right? $6.41 could be the only price that you go to, but I have a hard time seeing that for XRP. Again, this is just going off of this area here, which I don't think is that significant. It's probably not worth talking about anymore, so we'll just delete that. 112% is the real area that I would expect at a minimum. 112% plus 107%, that's what? That's going to be about like 220%, something like that. A 220% move would take you up to 733. Okay, maybe. Maybe you stop there. But it's very uncommon when you break through your golden ratio to stop anywhere other than the 1886 or above. So I'm just going to say that. It's also very uncommon from a high to a low to stop just below your 1272, let alone like you would probably stop right at it, if not above it. So I don't think 641, even though we can make sense out of it with some unorthodox manners, I don't think that it makes sense. I really do think 837 is a really good minimum target, okay? Going forward, that's if you stop at this golden ratio. What if you go deeper? What if you see something that's at a 176% growth? 176% would take you up to about 176 plus 100, so that'd be about 280. 280 would be right at $8.37. It's very possible, you guys, XRP, and I know I talk about $10 to $13 all the time, but it's very possible XRP could stop at $8.37, right? We are, if anything, this actually makes a lot of sense. You'll be in the golden ratio, looking at this from a low to a high. This is why I'm glad that we're doing this, actually. From a low to a high, it's unlikely that you tear through the golden ratio on the first attempt, most of the time. To be fair, with how much you've accumulated here, I wouldn't be surprised if you did. And if you were to tear through this, I would think actually you don't stop at this white line either. You probably stop at the 786. And if you stop at the 786 XRP versus Bitcoin, that's going to be a 300% price growth versus Bitcoin's 107% price growth. Is that 300%, 107, 405%, because it's actually 296. So let's say 405% overall. A 405% growth would take you right to $11.52. Okay. I don't know how much of this seems like the ravings of a madman. I don't know how much of this you guys could keep up with, right? I'm just like literally thinking out loud here with the price action. I'm flipping between a bunch of charts. I understand. But whenever we use, when I've done, and what inspired this was somebody mentioned, they're like, okay, so you draw a bunch of fibs, you draw a bunch of lines, and like that's cool, but how do you make sense out of it? And I don't know really how to make sense out of anything with fibs, so it might not be the best way to answer it, but I'm using more fibs, I'm shoving more fibs and on more charts altogether to validate this. But it does validate it, right? If it was something different, then we'd have to accept different prices. And maybe there's a sense to be made of about $6.41, $5, and you might find turbulence there. I wouldn't be surprised if you found turbulence there. But ultimately, this move, you guys, where you're going to stop, not by the end of the cycle, but by the end of May, I think it's very clear that 837 to 1150 should be on the table. It should be a consideration, let alone if you go higher versus Bitcoin. Now, I want to be clear. I think this is where XRP will probably top off versus Bitcoin by the end of the cycle. Now, if it gets here by the end of May, that doesn't mean that it's topping off versus Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that the bear cycle's there, right? Likely what happens is if you get in this area by the end of May, you will pull back, you'll find turbulence, and then you'll come back by the end of the cycle and be back up here again, okay? That's where we get our cycle ending targets. If you were to do this the same way, and I'm not going to do it now because I want to end the video, I'm getting tired, but if you do this the same way, and I've done this in several videos, you get targets that are anywhere from about $27 to $43, literally 43, even $47, targets that line up with this prior, like 2 cycles ago's high to low golden ratio, and even last cycle's double golden ratio here, right? When I tell you guys that XRP by the end of May is going to $8.37 to $11, I hope it makes sense, right? Because again, if it was just this one chart and that was concerning, you were like, okay, but how likely is that going to be based off of these fibs? The fact that we used 3 different charts and we made sense out of it all in that way, just off of what I'm expecting, and I did not preemptively plan this at all. It genuinely could have provided completely different targets than I was anticipating. But the fact that it provided the exact same target areas that we're looking for, with the actual fibs, not just this one obscure little low that I focused on. I probably shouldn't have focused on. Like who cares? You didn't find resistance here. You found support here once. You found resistance there once, but it's not nearly as significant as the golden ratio is, as the 786 is. Clearly, you found more resistance there and more significance there. These more significant areas point to the same. If it was calculated with XRP to BTC, and BTC goes to the area that I'm expecting it to go based off of these common fib extensions as well, it all lines up. And this wasn't preemptive. I didn't look for the right prices to make it in the right area. It just happens to agree with everything I've been saying. So I don't know how else to make sense out of it. I hope this is received well. Hit the like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. If you don't remember, in the beginning of the video, or at least after like the very first part of the video, we were talking about the price for XRP going down to about $1.60 to $1.85, somewhere in that area. We're at $2.24 now. So if you're excited about the notion that we could at a minimum go to 837, you should be even more excited that you're going to have an opportunity to buy at relatively lower prices. Again, where's it going? We're at 224 right now. Nobody knows where it's going. But I think it's going to go to about $1.85 to $1.60 at the lowest. I'm really anticipating probably something closer to $1.70 if I had to be real. And then from there, over the rest of March, going into the end of April and into May, you'll see this spectacular next phase up that will likely not stop until you're at least at $8.37. If not, in my opinion, more probably, you're going to go to prices above $10, even above $11, okay? It's inevitable. It's inevitable like Thanos. That's why our percentage bar is colored purple. No, I don't know. That's just a coincidence, but I'm rolling with it. All right, hit the like button, you guys. Subscribe. I hope this made sense. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of jumping around, but we'll see. Anyways, take care. Bye.